Okay, there, we're rolling. So welcome everyone. This is the Great Torathon.
This is,
So I'm your moral leader, Luke Ford, and this is Dr. Osborne, and this is just Joey Joey Kurtzman. So we've got two Torah portions this week, which are Parshas Nitzavim, and that's, if you're following along at home, so write this down if you're keeping score at home. Deuteronomy chapter 29, starting with verse 9, and then the Parsha goes through Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 20, and then the next one is Parshas Vayeilech, and that starts with Deuteronomy 31:1, and that goes through Deuteronomy 31:30. So don't get creeped out because Joey sweats a lot. That he's just
Monica's here today, and it's hotter, so I'm especially shy and nervous today. So
it's not just a response to me. So
no, Luke calms me down.
So Parshas Nitzavim, that's like Moses' ethical will to the Jewish people and to the Israelites. Like he's about to kick the bucket, as we say in Talmud class, and so he's like talking about the things that are most important to him, to the Jewish people. So there are like no inquiries about their feelings, except for they shouldn't be afraid, and that they should love God and they should fear God. So it's not really touchy-feely. It's just a lot of commandments. So I'll start with something that just going through here, things that like grab us, and I'll open with a verse that grabs me, and that's Deuteronomy 29:18. And it will be that when he hears the words of this imprecation, that means don't go serving idols, he will bless himself in his heart, saying, peace will be with me, though I walk as my heart sees fit. So walking as your heart sees fit, doing your own thing, growing morally, as the Jewish Journal said in an article about Shalhevet a few weeks ago, and learning to think for yourself, something else that the Jewish Journal said about the high school Shalhevet last week. Those don't seem to be really Torah concepts. Like the Torah seems to have a big problem with people saying, walking as their heart sees fit. So do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I will say that, interestingly, the same verse really leapt out at me. Because, yes, I mean, the plain reading is not only that being in touch with your own journey and having the courage of your own convictions. It's not just opposed to them, it seems antithetical to what's being presented to us here. And it's interesting the phrasing that they use. Though I follow the will of my own heart. That's not just saying, don't be a waver or don't be a silly person who just does whatever he wants. That to me is describing really what I think of as the goal of other spiritual traditions. I'm thinking of Buddhism and Sufism. That it's the entire purpose of being active in those faiths is to get in touch with that and live your truth, essentially. So this is Judaism seems to dislike that sort of notion intensely. You have a sort of arbitrary set of rules, some of which you are told are inexplicable to you entirely, but just follow them, and good shit will happen. So
right.
That's it. It's interesting.
Right, they're not into like just doing your own thing. So what do you think, Monica?
Well, there's definitely mine here gives a little translation instead of mine says, for it shall be when he hears the words of this oath and blesses himself in his heart, saying, I will Hashem. This translates, or this gives another explanation for this phrase, blesses himself in his heart, saying fancies himself immune. So it's another one of these instances of take care lest you. So there's definitely a call for introspection here, and it kind of points back to the verse that I've been thinking about this morning. It is, let's see, 29:11. For you to cross over into the covenant of Vayeilech, your God, and into his oath of fealty that Vayeilech, your God, is cutting with you today. I was reading just a little bit of Rashi on this morning, just for 5 minutes, and I think the verse itself wouldn't have stuck out to me until I read the Rashi. And he was saying something to the effect of, this is actually about personal ethical responsibility here. This isn't, you're going to be crossing over. This is about you. It's your own individual choice. You have to make a decision to do this, right? This isn't just something you can be, swept into or move along with. It's something you have to purpose, in and of yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting because I throughout my studies, such that they have been, Judaism does emphasize, yes, that it's this is your choice to make or not make, and it can't be made for you by another, as opposed to maybe Islam, where it's all free will is kind of dodgy. But the thing, I guess, that to me makes Judaism feel like a less mature tradition than well, again, just as examples, Buddhism and Sufism, is that, yes, they've gotten to the point where, yes, you need to make this, you need to introspect, and you need to get in touch with a certain kind of internal truth, and then hopefully you get the right outcome, and the outcome is very specific, is the correct, is the, whatever the prevailing Judaic interpretation is at that moment. That's the right thing, and then if you don't make the right decision, then you're kind of fucked. But so it's free will to be either right or wrong, which is more mature to me than Islam, where again, at least there is that notion of the ability to make a choice. But I'm not. It's hard for I think a lot of people who are kind of products of modern life to be impressed with that degree of free will, where the morality is already prepackaged for you, and either you take it or you don't.
So what strikes you, Monica, when you start this parsha? Around the parsha, anything about the parsha that grabbed you?
Well, like you said, this is Moses is on his way out kind of speech. So it's filled with all the rhetorical flourishes of somebody who knows this is his last big moment.
Right, yeah.
So I mean, as a literary person, I read this as, it's a performance of sorts. It's, he's kind of dwelling on the past, and then he's kind of offering a vision of the future, it seems, rather than really focusing on what's going on, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
So the question is, what does it mean? Why does he do that? And one thing I noticed too, he kind of oscillates between saying, when he's speaking to them, our God, and our God, and your God.
Right.
So it's really interesting to me. It's almost as if Moshe's kind of distancing himself at certain points from it. I mean, I read in this, and I'm reading a lot into this, but I read some ambivalence on his part, regarding, it seems that he's looking for some kind of transition between the past and the future, and it sounds really cliche.
Oh, he's ambivalent about what?
About the past. He's talking about Israel's past, the Israelites' past.
Saying it wasn't
but then he's
so
got
hot.
this right. But then there's like this almost apocalyptic kind of vision of the future that's strange, right? And I mean,
strange or realistic? Like if you were Moses, and would you be predicting that the Israelites were going to fall away from God and get creamed, or would you?
Well, considering their track record, probably.
Yeah, right.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree, what Monica said about the big final speech kind of resonates with me. It's whether strange or realistic,